Are we finally seeing the New Albany housing bubble pop, or is it just another chapter in a market that's running hotter than ever? Because today on the Ohio Housing Nerd, I'm going to show you what's really happening with home prices here in New Albany, Ohio. Now, if you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm Jason Ferrier. I am a realtor. I am an investor here in Central Ohio. I've been doing it about 8 years now. But I'm not a financial advisor and I'm not a lawyer. I'm definitely not an accountant. I pull the data, I show you what's behind the scenes and let you make your own decision. One of the more sobering stats about the housing market in general, certainly here in New Albany, is the insane rise of prices over the past 5 years. Back before COVID hit, the median home price in New Albany was around $430,000. And that sounds like a bargain compared to what's happening now, because the median home price has skyrocketed to nearly $700,000. And it hasn't crashed yet because home prices are up 2.2% year over year, and they're up 51% in about 5 years. Now, we are seeing more homes on the market for sale. Like right now, we've got about 51 homes when you look at the zip code 43054. And if you look at pre-COVID levels of inventory, what you're gonna find is different. We actually have fewer homes listed right now than we did before the pandemic. So we're down about 31% in the number of homes on the market. So while inventory is up year over year, it's down when you look at pre-COVID levels. And folks, we're seeing that throughout the US. It's not just here in Ohio, and it's definitely not just here in New Albany. A lot of areas have more inventory than they did last year, so that inventory is building. And then when you look at pre-COVID levels, you're still down in the number of homes for sale. But don't get it twisted. That inventory is growing. And as it grows, hopefully prices will start to soften, maybe even correct. Now, the New Albany housing market, and really all of Central Ohio, kind of sits in the shadow of the Intel Gigafactory project. And a lot of that Intel fever and Intel hype has driven home prices, in my opinion, up maybe more than they would have usually. But comment and let me know, do you think the Intel effect has had an effect on home prices? Now, some wonder if they're actually going to finish that project out in Johnstown, which is only about 10 miles from here. And I would think they will, simply because the government now owns 10% of Intel. And as we all know, anytime the government comes in, they're going to mess things up, but they're certainly going to prop it up, give it liquidity, print some money, and finish the project probably. At least that's my opinion. Now, if you're looking to buy a home in New Albany, you will find more homes for sale than you have over the past few years, no doubt, but it's not like it's a flood of inventory. And so home prices, like, they range. You could spend $4 million. You can also spend $400,000. It really depends on where you want to live and obviously the type of house, but there are price points really all over the place. And unlike a lot of other markets of the state, you're seeing some new construction you can take advantage of. Like this home here on Wheatley Avenue, brand new, listed at $419,000. Looks more like a condo or a townhome, so you gotta watch those HOA fees. But nonetheless, there are opportunities out there for new construction. You could spend $400,000 or you can spend a lot more. You can also snag like an older property on some land, like this one here, listed for $575,000, and it comes with about 1.2 acres. It was built in 1988. So what I am seeing over the past year or so are more homes coming to market like this. And then there are other existing homes that are much more expensive, like this one on Ebrington Road that's $3.7 million, built a few years ago, 2018. And it's been on the market for 72 days. And that's the other thing I'm seeing in the New Albany real estate market, are that homes are sitting longer, especially expensive homes, are sitting longer than they were the previous years. And in general, it takes more time to sell a luxury home than it does, you know, just an average everyday home. But we're seeing longer and longer days on market, and that's particularly happening with expensive homes. Homes that are priced way over the median. But somebody else's pain could be your opportunity. Now, I'm not saying these folks that are selling their $3.7 million house have a lot of pain, but I can guarantee you there are opportunities in New Albany right now to buy a home far under list price. And that's one of the things I specialize in as a realtor. I love making lower offers with my clients. I'm not afraid to send in a disrespectful offer. I'm doing what you want to do. It's not my decision, it's your decision. And if you want to make a deal, let's go find one. And one of the ways I like to find opportunities that maybe others won't is I look at days on market. So I won't even usually look at a property, for me anyway, until I see days on market at least 60 days. preferably 120 days. And the longer a property sits on the market, the bigger chance you have for a discount. The other thing I'll do is look at expired listings, listings that no longer are listed, and the seller may still want to sell. They just have taken it off market for whatever reason. And sometimes those expired listings represent great opportunities, even in a market like New Albany. But now if you go back to the listings and kind of look at what's been listed over 100 days on market, you can see that there are some, and even expensive properties fall into that category. Remember, folks, what's happened over the past few years with real estate is not normal. And there's gonna be a lot of people caught with their pants down once everything shakes out, right? Like this one, it's 6940 Clifton, where it's priced well over $1 million, but it's been on the market over 100 days. And in a minute, I'm gonna show you some new builds right here in the heart of New Albany. The prices, you won't believe what they are. Now, many think that an area like New Albany is made of Teflon and that prices never go down, but we are seeing price reductions here. About 21% of all homes have had a price cut. And we all know that buying demand has been low, very low compared to historical standards. And the fact that there's low buying demand right now means that there's fewer buyers to compete with. So if you're thinking about buying a home, I'm not saying it's never been a better time to buy. I hate it when agents say that. I certainly don't have that mindset, but I would rather buy in a market with less competition, not more competition. I can tell you for sure, one thing is clear, they're not building affordable housing here in New Albany. I mean, everything that's built is well over $500,000. Honestly, nearly $1 million. And so the days of like a $300,000 starter home in the New Albany School District are pretty much over unless you buy something existing. Or you find an old house, maybe on the outskirts of town, that you get lucky, you snag and you renovate. If I had to live in New Albany, that's exactly what I would look for. But these condos here coming up are brand new, they're being built. They're kind of like townhome type things, but they're priced like single family homes. And no doubt these things are awesome on the inside when they're all done, right? I mean, they've got elevators, they've got state-of-the-art appliances. I think they're Wolf appliances. They're gonna be decked out, but they're around $1.8 million. And there's a reason why they're building them. There's probably a need for super high-end homes in New Albany because a lot of people wanna move here. But I always say there's a buyer for every house, just depends on the price, right? Now, if you remember back in 2006, 7, and 8, projects like this in New Albany, they came to an absolute stop because credit froze and no one could borrow any money. And a lot of developers went completely bankrupt. But the government's figured out a way to solve that credit problem. They will probably come in, do quantitative easing, print a bunch of money, and kick the can further down the road. Eventually, the can will get so big that they won't be able to kick it. But that time's not right now. It is probably on the horizon at some point. Let me know what you think. Will they continue to do quantitative easing when we get into financial stress in the housing market and the economy? The housing nerd thinks they will, unfortunately. So the bottom line is, depending on what you want to spend, there are opportunities in New Albany. And I actually used to live here in New Albany, decided to move away after a while, but it's a great community. I mean, it definitely has its pluses. Now, on the downside, taxes, property taxes are absolutely off the hook. But if you're gonna spend $1 million on a home, be prepared to spend a lot in taxes. Their school system is ranked near the top in the state. And now they actually have some pretty good sports teams with their high school, and their actual high school facilities are like amazing. I think they have like an indoor swimming pool. They may have an indoor track for all I know. Much different from the cinder football field I played on back in 1995. But the housing market is tight here in New Albany, many areas throughout the state. But that doesn't mean you can't find a deal if you're patient and you know where to look. Now comes the time in the video where I reveal the most expensive home in the market, and that is 4135 High Grove Crest. I guess when your home's this expensive, you don't live on a road or a lane or an abbey, you live on a crest. How expensive is it? $4.5 million. And it looks like a really nice home. But honestly, when you think about some other high-end areas of the US, $4.5 million is like everyday USA. But for Ohio, that's a pretty expensive property. Now, if you're thinking about buying or selling a home in New Albany, here's the deal. I'm not your run-of-the-mill realtor. You can find those anywhere. But if you want someone who doesn't follow the crowd and knows the data inside and out, hit me up, the link's in my description below, because I've got the insights that others don't. Now, I hope you learned something on today's Ohio Housing Nerd video. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and YouTube thinks you're gonna love my next video right here.